Stanley Kubrick to me is a titan in film directing. I don't think there's anybody, since he died nearly 20 years ago, who really comes close to what he could do. And I think he's an inspiration to so many artists just because he made movies in so many different genres and made a definitive statement in each one. And I really admire that in terms of somebody that could change subject matters, but bring an overall style and worldview to them. And I find his films both, terrifying in showing how cruel man can be to man, but then also some of them I find really, if not heartwarming, I find them really profound and philosophical. They're movies that make me feel better about life. There are some, like Doctor Strange level, The Shining, that are terrifying and how we can treat each other and how sort of cold people can be. Clockwork Orange as well. And then there are other films like 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I watch again and again and again, with actually heartened by the idea that there's something more to life than just becoming dust in your coffin or in your vase. My favourite Stanley Kubrick movie is 2001: A Space Odyssey. There's a lot of the other ones that I really love. I love Paths of Glory. I love Dr. Strangelove. How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. I do love The Shining. I really love Clockwork Orange. I've come in later years to really appreciate Barry Lyndon. I don't think I quite understood it when I was a teenager, but I watched it recently and I loved it. But 2001 is not only one of my favourite movies, it has probably become the movie that I've seen the most at the cinema. And it's a movie that I, just appreciate on different levels every time I watch it. I saw it when I was very young, probably around the time where post Star Wars, I would watch anything that was science fiction. And my parents would talk a lot about 2001. They saw it on first release and talked about how confusing it was. And so when I saw it, I was sort of ready for it, and the enigmatic nature of it was something I found, even as I must have been 7 or 8 when I first saw it. And even though I didn't understand it, that didn't stop me from enjoying it. And I think over the years, the thing I love about the movie is I like the way that, I love the structure of it in terms of, it's almost structured like an opera, that you have these 3 movements which have a connection to each other, but you're watching 3 sort of little films. I'm not a religious person. I didn't grow up going to church. But I do, watching something like 2001 makes me want to believe there is more to life than just us silly humans on a rock. And so I love the idea of there being some kind of higher intelligence out there in the universe, and the idea that we could learn from them, from meeting other sort of species. So it's always a sort of a movie that I really wanted to believe in. I wanted to believe that there was something more than us just being on this planet. And I still do. And I think it's that, it's ironic that, still in the year 2001, or 2018 now, we're still not living on the moon. The movie was literally ahead of its time in terms of it supposed that we would be a lot more advanced than we are right now. Also, it's impossible not to appreciate the craft of the movie. It's so well photographed, it's so well thought out. Like a lot of Stanley Kubrick's films, there's never a wasted shot. There's never dull coverage. Every shot is designed, beautifully composed, and he thinks about every single frame. And that phrase, every frame is a painting, I think that's very true of Stanley Kubrick. Every single composition has been analysed and thought about. Maybe he's done 100 takes of every shot. How it influenced my own style, I don't think you can draw many parallels to my movies from his movies. I mean, I think maybe some of the satirical aspects. I mean, there's definitely, I think Doctor Strangelove is an absolutely fantastic sort of black comedy, and so is A Clockwork Orange, in fact. 2001, I think, actually is like a lot funnier than people give it credit for. I've seen it 3 times at the cinema in the last 6 months, whilst it's been re-released. And the howl scenes are so beautifully written, and the performance of Howl by Douglas Rain is such a great creation. And every time I watch it, the line where Howl says, "Dave, maybe you should sit down and take a stress pill," gets a big laugh. And it's just fantastic. Howl's performance is incredible. In terms of like how it's influenced my own style, I think I never would ever put myself in the same bracket as Stanley Kubrick, but it's definitely something to aspire to in terms of amazing shots that can speak 1,000 words, compositions. I think one aspect of 2001 that has influenced me is that I think in a way 2001, strangely, even though it uses classical music, is the first like jukebox movie, in the sense that before American Graffiti, before Martin Scorsese, before American Werewolf and Reservoir Dogs, Stanley Kubrick was actually doing needle drops with 2001, because as they were temping the movie before Alex North had done his score, Stanley Kubrick and the editors were scoring it with classical music that they had on various albums around the edit suite. And then they became so they fell in love so much with the temp score of this classical music by Strauss and Ligeti and others that they ended up clearing it and ditching Alex North's score. So I think if there's any parallel I can make from my own work to his, it's these sequences where you fully give over to the song. I mean, my last movie, Baby Driver, I tried to design it like a musical, where there's whole sequences where there'd be no dialogue and the music just plays. And that is definitely something where 2001 is an influence. I think a lot about the scene with Blue Danube, the waltz in space, and how he just lets that play out, and you just look at these amazing images set to that seemingly incongruous and yet totally perfect music. So that's one of the many things that really speaks to me. My favourite shot in cinema, I think, is actually just before the Stargate, is where the monolith lines up with the planets, and you see the kind of the planets in like a line and the monolith in the middle, and it looks like some cosmic equation. And as somebody who, like I said, I'm not a religious person, but I do believe in sort of symmetry in the universe. I don't want to start talking about cosmic order and stuff like that. But there's something beautiful about that there is some kind of sense to the universe, just in terms of symmetry, at the very least. So I find it sort of profound on an aesthetic level, and it always really moves me, that shot, even before he gets into the Stargate. So it's like Stanley Kubrick is a totally hypnotic filmmaker to me, and movies are made to be immersed in, and he is one of the most immersive directors of our time, and will probably continue to be that way 100 years after his death.